Okay, we are in Eyn Yaakov, and this is in Brachot. Truth is, we're coming to the end of this Masechta, 63b5, and coming to the end of it, where we only have really. We're not going to do it finished today, but next week should be finished with this, unless we get into a really great discussion. And then, in that case, we won't be finished next week either. But we're coming to the end. There's only one more page after this. It's 63, 64. 64 and finishes it. Okay, so Patach Rabbi Yossi Bechvod Achsania V'darash. So Rabbi Yossi opened his discourse with the words in honor of their hosts and expounded the following verse. Lo t'te'eva demiyuk yechichahu. You should not reject an Edomite, which is Esav, somebody from Esav's family. Why? Because Echichahu, he is your brother. Lo t'te'ev Mitzri. You should not reject an Egyptian. Why? Oh, we did some of this. Ki.
I don't think it's from this. I think we were just talking about it. No, because you mentioned the Egyptian. We just didn't mention. I think we mentioned Edom.
Yeah, we saw it. We did. So we'll repeat it. Ki girayita ba'artza. Do not reject don't reject an Egyptian because you were a stranger in the land. Fine. So certainly it's a fortier argument here. Umam Mitzrayim, for if with regard to Egyptians, Shelo Kerevu El et Yisrael El Tzorach Atzman, who drew Israel only close to them for their own purposes. Shneimar, it says concerning Pharaoh's request regarding Yosef's brothers, Im Yadatev Yesh Bam Anshecha V'Samtam Shemikna Sheli, that if you know that there are among them men of special strength, then appoint them officers over the flocks of the mine. Kach. If it is thus that the Torah nevertheless requires us to show them gratitude, that one who for no ulterior motive hosts a Torah scholar in his home, who feeds him and gives him to drink and benefits from his possessions, how much more so should they be deserving of great gratitude? You understand the thing? It was saying the Mitzrayim who ultimately would torture us. Okay, and yet we still have to be nice to them. We can't reject them totally because we were living in their land. As he says in 50 here, the verse concerning the suitability of the third Egyptian offspring of Edomite and Egyptian converts to marry Jewish women, that's what we have, the third generation. The verse teaches that although the converts of some nations may never marry to Israel, namely Ammon and Moab, so those of these two nations may eventually do so. In the case of the Egyptians, this is because of the gratitude owed to them for allowing Yaakov and his sons to sojourn in the land at the time of their hunger. So that's the opening of that. Then we say, wait, we have a kol v'chomer here. If I should not reject an Egyptian because we're sojourners in the land, and the only reason the Egyptians brought us into the land was for their own benefit. By the way, it's not only what the Torah, they benefit for many reasons. One is that which the Gemara doesn't entertain here. One of the main reasons is that the law of Egypt was that one should not be ruled by a slave. Okay, that was against parliamentary rules, if you will, of the Egyptian land. Okay, so who was Yosef but a slave?
Yet he was appointed anyway.
He was appointed. They changed his name. They changed to Asna Paneach. No, that's the girl. What did they change it to? I forget his name already. But I forget his name. It's not Asna. No. But anyway, they changed his name so the people wouldn't realize that it was really him, right? They gave him, what?
Egyptian name?
Yeah. If you give me a chumash, I can find the name really quickly.
Is it also the act that? So they dressed him up to look like.
They dressed him up to look like. But I'm saying, but they changed his name, and what they did was, thank you. What Pharaoh did was he changed his name. What's his name? I guess. I can't remember everybody's names anymore. The first sign of getting young, right? Okay. Huh? Yes, Shkoyach, I'm glad you got the joke. Okay. Mikate. No, where it is. Too far. Right? Oh, make it, no, at the end of 2 years, right? So what happens? So he gets him out of jail, cuts off, blah, blah, blah. He brings him up. So his new name is oh, I was right. It's Safnat. That's what it was. Not Asnat. I knew because Asnat's a girl's name. Safnat Paneach was his new name. Okay, it says Vayikra Paro Shem Yosef. So Pharaoh called the name of Yosef Safnat Paneach, which is Asnat is his wife, and he gives him Asnat Ba Potipara, which is who was Potipara? That was really Potiphar. That's the one who bought him to be a slave. So by marrying Yosef to his former owner's daughter, showed he was a free man. All this in order to cover up that he was a slave. So I'm going to change his name. I'm going to give him the wife of, the daughter of his former master. So clearly he's a free man. So therefore we're not breaking our rules. We're not calling him Yosef because you don't have to... Should I have a stranger running the land? By the way, if these laws should sound familiar to you because we have the similar in our constitution. You have to be of the country. You have to be, there's a lot of, in order to be president, to have a high office, you really can't be a foreigner to this country.
Yeah.
So it just makes common sense.
In any other position, you can be, but
right. But if you're going to be, vice president, you have to have the right lineage. Right.
You might become the president.
Right. So that's what they're doing. They're changing all this stuff. Now, when Nabi Shai went as when Yaakov is coming with his family and they identify that this kid really was not a slave, that it was a mistaken identity. Really, his father is a prince in another country. Oh, so that's important. Bring them down. Let everybody see them so that we retroactively, it means we never broke our law. Very important for them. So they still showed. So again, why? So now, why are you bringing down a family of 70 when you're living in the famine? What are you bringing them down for? Oh, because it's worth it financially for the Pharaoh, financially, and it's also worth it because financially because you're bringing all the flocks with you, and also it's better for you that this kid is proven to be a prince. Okay, so that was one thing. And there's many other things that would have been worthwhile for the Egyptians to do it. So clearly, the Egyptians are not doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. Unlike with America lets in the boat people, whoever the boat people would be. In other words, we used to have the boat people in the 1990s. They were, I forget who they were. Remember who the boat people were?
From Cuba.
Cuba. Thank you. We had Cubans. We had also others who were coming on the boat. They always were called boat people. You never heard that?
Well, I've heard Indianapolis.
Indianapolis? It doesn't bother water.
What was the one that the Jews were saying? Lincoln. Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about coming over of recent vintage.
Okay.
So whenever they were on the boat, so they're called boat people. Yeah. But the point is that the United States took these people under their wings, even though they had nothing to offer the United States of America. They were nothing. They were poor. There was nothing there. What was the advantage of bringing in more poor people to this country? It's like when people move into town. If you don't have a job, what are you doing to us? Now we have to support you too. And so that's really the attitude that goes on. So if you're bringing them in, like when we brought in the Russian Jews, when the Russian Jews were coming to America, paid for by the Jewish communities, we were undertaking a major task. Even though these people were trained doctors and everything else, they obviously could not get licensed to work right away. They had to work at McDonald's or whatever the case was going to be, but they were relying upon the Jewish communities to support them. And so another drain on the community. And so we did it not for hopes of getting money from them, but because we have to save them. So again, that was from the kindness, if you will, of our hearts. There was no vested interest for us to do it. Okay, but here Pharaoh. Now people would probably argue that, but okay, I'm not going to argue that. But it's here Pharaoh certainly had a vested interest, and even so, we still have to treat them with respect. We still have to have gratitude for them. So that's when the Gemara says, "I'll give you a kol v'chomer." If these people who had a vested interest, and we have to treat them like with respect. We have to let them in. So kol v'chomer, the more so if I have a Talmud Chacham in my house, and I'm feeding him and I give him something to drink, and he's benefiting from my possessions, not because I only have, my only ulterior motive is to host this guy, maybe to get some of his knowledge. I'm going to be rewarded. All the more so, he should be deserving of great gratitude. So, it's something that we're learning from the Gemara, from that we have to have, if somebody welcomes you in, again, you're the Talmud Chacham, somebody welcomes you in, so you should have a karas hatov for the person. Okay, because it's really what did he gain from you? Besides, again, maybe some Devar Torah, but otherwise, he's not really getting anything from you. Yeah.
Have these laws of what they call marrying in after converting, have they changed? Because we don't really have a nation of Edom anymore, unless you count like Rome, and then or thereby Americans and all of essentially Europe.
The answer is when Nebuchadnezzar mixed the people up, we lost who everybody was. Right. So therefore, the law, while still on the books, can't really apply itself. If we would know of an Egyptian, a real Egyptian, again, not the people who live in Egypt today.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Right, so a real Egyptian, or a real Edomite, or a real Amalekite, all those laws would be, they're on the books, like anything else. So they still apply, but we don't know who they are. So since we don't know who they are, we can't implement them because, let me just finish, because the majority of people are not Edomites.
Right.
The majority of people are not Egyptians. The majority of people are not Amalekites. Yeah. So if they were, then we'd have a problem.
When you say we translate Mitzrayim as Egypt, but it's a different people today, really.
Oh yeah, the Egyptians are not The Egyptians were not there from Moses. And the Jordanians were never there because it was never Jordan. Jordan is a brand new country.
That was what? Ammon?
That was Ammon or something. It wasn't Jordanians. It wasn't. The Palestinians certainly is nothing. It's
their Egyptians are there. Yeah, Egypt.
They're the natives of the area, but we don't know who they are. Again, there's only certain groups that weren't allowed to marry in, were not allowed to convert in immediately. The rest of them were. So, the majority of people are the ones who could convert, automatically marry in. But for those who can't, they can't. Okay, like I said, the Amalekites, Ammonites are the only ones who can't convert in and marry. And then the Egyptians and the, who else was it? The Edomites would be the third generation.
Why?
Yeah, but otherwise everybody else good. Yeah. Your question.
Yeah. Do we have is there anything special about like Hittites?
Hittites?
Isn't that one guy who sold the cave?
He can marry. He can convert in right away. Again, there's only 4 groups that I know of: the Egyptians of the ancient times, all of ancient times. The Egyptians, the Edomites, who after 3rd generation can marry in, and then Ammon and Moab can never marry in. Right. Well, we don't know who they are. Right. It's like a mamzer. like a mamzer. A mamzer is a product of a married woman who had relations with another man and they had a child besides her husband. That child would be a mamzer. But the question is, who's a mamzer? The mamzer can't marry into the Jewish he can only marry another mamzer. He can't marry a regular person. So, and that's nothing wrong with him, by the way. The mamzer can be a Talmud Chacham. But so now the question is, well, who's a mamzer today? Originally, we used to have a registry, but now we don't have that registry anymore. That registry was lost. I guess Baruch Hashem for that, but you know, we don't want to say, "Oh, you're a mamzer." I mean,
if that was in force, would that line carry on forever?
Yes, the male mamzer will always have a mamzer.
Wow.
The only way you can get rid of that is if he would marry a Shivcha Canaanite, a female Canaanite slave.
Okay.
So since that child would no longer be Jewish, right? The Shivcha Canaanite is not Jewish. So if this guy would marry the Shivcha Canaanite, so then convert, you know, you do a quick bait-in conversion, and so then that child would be a Yisrael, but he would no longer be related per se to his father. So he would be virgin birth. Yeah. For all those who want to know how virgin birth works, that's how it works.
Right. Semantics. Right. My question was, so sort of like how is it the same thing, sort of like how we say like Hitler and Stalin, they were maybe related to Amalek because of what they did to us, stuff like that.
We say spiritually related.
Right,
we wouldn't. It's not really meaning related.
No, right. Yeah. So is it the same thing we call Rome Edom? We don't actually know.
No, of course. Yeah, no, 100%. Rome is Edom because it's representative of what Esav was. Okay. Right. So, and ultimately, Rome is the Christian world.
Right. Well, I mean, right. That's the thing. But I'm saying, like, when we give a name of Edom,
it's referring to Rome.
Of Edom, it's just referring to the context of how they behave towards us.
Well, you're right. We don't know. Right. We don't know if they're really related to.
Right.
100%. No, 100%.
Romulus probably wasn't a descendant of Edom.
Say it again?
Romulus probably wasn't a descendant of Edom.
Why do you say that?
The myth about Rome, the way Rome was made was there was two children raised by a wolf.
Okay. I'm just saying, but the point is he took over the land of Seir, which was in Edom, and so on and so forth. That's why he's called Edom, because he said, "Give me some of those adamin, those red lentils." So that's why they marked him with the name of Edom. But nonetheless, like I said, we don't know who they are today. But if we did, if he could prove, maybe you get genealogy.com to prove that he's from Esav, although we don't rule by Esav by genealogy.com, but let's assume that you could get something like that, he could prove it back. So guess what? If he wants to convert, you would have to wait 3 generations. Again, when people were coming, even to the Second Temple period, we did have a lineage. There was a lineage. So we would know where people were. That lineage was ultimately lost. But for a long time we had it. Like I said, thank God for the Gullus. We don't want to have that. So who knows who's who anymore? Which is why when you say who's a Jew, it really becomes a big question. You say you're Jewish. You can't prove it. Neither can I, by the way. We can't prove it. We can only prove it by, I know my mother was, again, how do I know? Because I saw my grandmother and so on and so forth. But it's not a matter of me really be able to give you documentation, right? And how do I know? Again, I say I'm a Kohen, but who knows? I don't know if nobody in my line ever messed up. I guarantee I come from Aaron a Kohen. That I'm pretty secure with. But to say nobody ever messed up along the line, I don't know, right? It's hard to really mess up these things. So, like I said, all those things being said, you have to be careful with all of that. But we go by, what do you call it? Precedent. No, chazaka. I guess they would say that. A chazaka is precedent. We all have a chazaka that we're Jewish. I mean, you have a chazaka only because you came in and said you're Jewish. If JJ were to come in and said he's Jewish, okay, we would have a little question on him. But nonetheless, if he would have come on with tefillin, here's an example. If JJ would have come with tefillin and a talis, we had a JJ here. I'm picking on JJ. Okay, if he would have come in with a kippah like yours.
J for J, the guy? Who are you talking about?
JJ, that's how he introduced himself. He was here for Shabbos. He came.
The guy sitting back there?
Yeah, a guy with the.
I don't think I know him.
He was never here before, and I don't. He's not Jewish,
Oh.
so. But like I said, let's say he came out with kippah like yours, and he put the towels over his head, and so okay, he's not white like me, although I'm not white like you. So compared to you, I'm black. Okay, but it's but you know what I'm saying? Okay, and let's say it was a weekday, and he put the film on. I'm not going to question that you're Jewish. Right? It's just an assumption. You're coming into a shul and you have your towels and you put the film and you're shuckling and you're at daven. The odds are you're Jewish. The odds are. Okay? If you want to say, Rabbi, I want you to be Masada Kedushin, I need you to marry me to this young lady, I have to do my homework. I have to know who you are. Okay? When it comes to saying, people wrote me, many times they need me to write a letter for them. I remember this one story, I probably told this, I won't use names, but when I was in a different place, I wasn't working here, I was in different stella. And so the guy who was part of the conservative shul came to me and he said, Rabbi, I need you to, my daughter wants to go to Israel, and so I need you to say she's Jewish. So
you want to go to study or just to make a living?
I forget what it was. But she needed an Orthodox rabbi saying she's Jewish. So I looked at the guy who was a yeshiva guy. That's what they always told me. He's a yeshiva guy. But he didn't belong to me. He belonged to the conservative shul. So I said to him, why are you coming to me? Go to your conservative rabbi. Let him do it. No, rabbi. He looked at me like, Rabbi, you know that Israel won't take that. So, okay. I said, I hate to ask you the question, but is your wife Jewish? I don't know if your wife's Jewish. You know, I know you went to yeshiva according to what everybody's telling me, but I don't know. Is she Jewish? Yeah, of course she's Jewish. Was she Jewish before? Did she convert? Did her mother convert? I had to go through this whole thing. Yeah. She said, he told me, she's Jewish from Sinai. Which Mount Sinai, not Temple Sinai, right? And he said to her maiden name. So okay, once she told me the maiden name, I knew the maiden name was a Jewish person in town. I said fine. So I made the thing up. But again, there are times if he would have come in, whether it's Telton film, he knew how to daven. He davened very nicely. He could learn the Torah. I didn't have a question on him. His wife, his kids. I don't know who you are. Even if I would. We don't know. That's the problem. So when it comes to that, I have to check you out. But otherwise, you have a chazaka. Yeah. You know, you're coming in. You seem to know what you're doing. I can assume you're Jewish. Like I said, you want to marry somebody. Now I have to do a little bit of homework. Okay. That answers the questions. Okay. So now, Patach Rabbi Elazar Benosh Rabbi Yossi Aglili Vichvod Achsania the Darash. Again, now is Rabbi Elazar, son of Yossi Aglili, opened the discourse with, in honor of their host, and expounded the following. He says, Vayevarach Hashem et Oved Edom V'avor Aron Elokim. And Hashem blessed Oved Edom. And you're going to see what's going on here. Because the ark of the Lord which was kept in his house. So if you look at 52, we didn't learn this yet in Shmuel, because it's in Shmuel Beit. So this occurred after King David moved the ark from Kiryat Yearim to Yerushalayim during the journey. A Levite called Uzzah died in an untimely death as a result of having stretched out his hand to steady the holy ark. King David therefore feared to keep the ark with him, but sent instead to the house of Oved Edom, where it remained for 3 months. The question is, of course, why? What was wrong with sticking your hand out to the holy ark? That was a famous question. And on top of that, why did he do it? Because the ark carried itself. It floated along, as or even though they were there were staves for them to carry it. Seems that it would carry itself. So why is he worrying about it falling, as if God was falling? What?
A balloon parade.
What?
A balloon parade.
Okay. Well, it wasn't exactly that, but okay. Balloon parade, what? Not really, but okay. I understand what you're saying. But so that's why he put his hand forth towards it, and Hashem avenged that, and the guy died. And so again, he leaves an Oved Edom's home, and he is rewarded for that. So v'alo devarim kol v'chomer. So now again, the Gemara says, so we have a kol v'chomer. Uma Aaron, just as in the case of the one who kept the Aaron, shlo achal v'shateh, which did not eat or drink, ela kavev ribes lefana, but before which he merely cleaned and laid the dust. What does that mean? He damped down the dust with water. Apparently so it wouldn't get dusty. Kach, that it was thus that God blessed him. So again, one who hosts a Torah scholar in his home, who feeds him, gives him drink, and benefits from his possessions, how much more so will he be assured of receiving great blessings? Obviously, now you have to think about who is saying this. These are the people who are coming from a different place, coming to Kerem B'Yavneh, and they're giving their little thanks to the people. So when anybody is feeding you, the first thing that you have to imagine when you walk into a person's home is you are taking food out of his kid's mouth, if not his own. Okay? Somebody comes into our house, we want to be gracious about this. We certainly offer them food. My father would tell the story of his father when they would go to, I guess an aunt, his sister-in-law, one of his cousins, whatever it was, some family member in Germany. And it must have been his sister-in-law, actually. It must have been my grandfather's sister-in-law. And she would always bring out a cake. A nice, beautiful cake, and put on the table. Of course, nobody ever ate from the cake. So, because it wasn't there to eat. It was just to see, to look at. I want to be a hostess, sort of thing. So one day, my grandfather got sick and tired of seeing the same cake, and she brought out. He took a big knife, and my grandfather really didn't eat cake, but he decided, I'm going to have the piece of cake. My grandmother wanted to kill him, and as my father says, and she said, "What did you do?" He said, "I'm tired of seeing the cake. I'm going to eat it, and she's going to have to give me a new one, because you can't bring out the next one." That was what he wanted. Okay, so really, how much of a story that is, I don't know. I remember my father told me that years ago, but it always stuck in my mind. But this is what it is. In other words, when I go to somebody's house and they're saying, "Can I give you this? Can I give you this? Can I give you this?" Let's be honest. We want to be gracious hosts, but there are times where people, how do you say it, overstay their welcome. They go a little too far.
Yeah.
They start asking for things. And of course, as a good host or hostess, you want to do your best, and so on and so forth. So now imagine again, go back, put yourself back in time here. These rabbis are coming from a different place, coming to Kerem B'Yavneh. They're probably eating at somebody's home, or they were eating at somebody's home. And again, food wasn't as plenteous as it is in the United States of America. Baruch Hashem, in the United States of America, you run out of bread, you know what to do? Go get another one. Go to Marshall's. You can even call them to deliver it to your home. Call up. It's true. You can call Myers.
Yeah.
You pay $5 delivery or whatever the heck it's going to be. They'll deliver it to your house. You never have to leave your house. So it's so easy in America. I can't talk about every other country, but in America it's easy. I run out, bring in more. We have we're not worrying about farming. We go to the store, get what you want, okay? So it's just a matter of paying money. But even with that, again, you have to, just one thing, let me just finish. So even with that, it still is a tircha on the person. It's a pain sometimes on the person. So here, these rabbis are coming 2 in a row and saying how big a reward you're going to get for taking care of us. Think about if the reward for taking care of the Aaron, if the reward for taking care of the Egyptians, if the reward for doing this, can you imagine what reward you're getting? It makes you feel good. Okay, so let me give you more. Yeah, what were we going to say? I'm sorry?
We were talking about the plenteous food in the United States. Remember hearing the stories in the late 80s and early 90s when the Russians were coming over. Not only didn't they have to stand in line, but there was so much food on the shelves. There's no way. How could anybody ever use all this food?
Right.
I couldn't believe it.
Right. Yeah, no, it's true, and that's what I'm saying. Well, we are spoiled. Thank God, we are spoiled by America. So we don't really get what these Gemaras are talking about many times. But this one, I think, is pretty clear that they were talking to people who didn't have a Myers, and they had a farm, and they had to do these sort of things. It wasn't easy to get food.
They ground their own.
They had to grind everything. They had to make everything. So now, what the biggest compliment you can give to the person is, if Hashem is going to reward you for feeding me. By the way, there's this mean that they consider themselves Talmidei Chachamim, which I guess they did, but or they were recognized as even if they didn't. So, but that's really what goes. That's how you have to look at this Gemara. And also today, when we have people inviting to our houses, we should think that just as if the Egyptians who had a cause to be invite us in, they got rewarded, so all the kol v'chomer, how much we will be rewarded. That's why you keep in mind, and that should inspire you to do more acts of kindness. So now the Gemara inquires as to the blessing Oved Edom, who had the Ark, got. Mahi bracha sheberachon. So what bracha did he get? So Amar Rav Yehuda Bar Zveda, Zu chamot u'shmona kaloteha. This blessing concerned his wife, a mother-in-law, and her 8 daughters-in-law. She held the Shisha Beker Zechad, whom each one gave 6 sons in a single womb. In other words, he got 6 tuplets. Okay, let's turn the page. Wait, I missed something here. I know? Okay. We may actually finish. What time is it? 10 minutes? I don't know. Let's see. Shneimar says, Pulati Ashmini ki beruchu Elokem. And Oved Edom had sons. Shemayim, his firstborn was Zevah. The second one, Palsia. The 8th for Hashem had blessed him. So the verse goes on to elaborate the bracha. Kol Eila mibnei Oved Edom hema uvneihem eacheihem. Ish chayil b'koach v'avoda v'shishim shnaim le'Oved Edom. All these were sons of Oved Edom. They, their sons, and their brothers, each man a special strength for the temple service. 62 for Oved Edom. Thus, as a result of this blessing, Oved Edom's offspring totaled 62 sons and 8 grandsons. His 8 sons, the six tuplets born to each of his 8 daughters-in-law, and the 6 tuplets born to his wife. Say that 3 times real fast. Okay.
This is one guy. This
is one person who, because he housed the ark for 3 months, Hashem blessed him. Oved Edom.
Was he a descendant of Edom?
No. He probably was red.
Oh,
okay. That's why we call people red. So Maharsha explains that by not saying for Hashem had blessed him until after listing Oved Edom's 8 sons, the verse implies that this phrase refers not only to his sons, but to the rest of his offspring as well, all to whom the verse will mention shortly, ending the words 62 for Oved Edom. The verse thereby teaches the total of 62 descendants was a result of Hashem's blessings. The number represents the 9 sets of 6 tuplets, along with the original 8 ones. Maharsha explains further that the reason the Gemara presumes that the additional offspring arrived through 6-tuplet births is because of the Midrash that teaches that Hashem granted fruitfulness to the Jews of Egypt. They bore 6 at a time. So the Gemara also accordingly assumes that just as in Egypt, God's blessing took this form, so too in the case of Oved Edom. Okay, next. So now the Gemara present. Okay, we have a couple of teachings from him. Of this Rav Avon Levi. So Rav Amar Rav Avan Halevi, so he said, Kol adochek et shah, whoever forces the moment, sha'a dochakto, the moment forces him. What does this mean? This occurred with Absalom, he explains, son of King David, who attempted to seize a kingship from his father by force and failed. One who forces the moment is the one who attempts to attain wealth or honor before the time is ripe. Such a person will be forced by the moment. In other words, he will encounter setbacks and will not be successful. That's why we would always say, but in Yiddish we would say, in the richtige sha'a, in the correct time. Everything happens in the correct time, not a second before, not a second after. Maharsha attributes this fact to this astrological phenomenon of mazal, which is the influence of the celestial bodies held over the affairs of man. He explains that in the life of every individual, there will be a moment determined by the astrological sign dominant at the hour of his birth, in which he will be presented with the opportunity to attain wealth, power, influence, or the like. One cannot force this moment, save with the help of heaven, but must wait for it to present itself. The Gra adds that one who does attempt to force this moment places himself in mortal danger, as we will see. But whoever yields before the moment, the moment yields before him. And he says, if one recognizes that the time is not yet ripe and therefore defers his plans, he will not lose by it, but will eventually know a time of success. And here's the source. The Rav Yosef. It is known from the incident of Rav and Rav Yosef. The Rav Yosef Sinai, the famous thing here. The Rav Yosef, in the great breadth of his knowledge, was referred to as Sinai. Okay, so again, Rav Yosef was called by this name because of his great expertise in Mishnayot and Braitot. They were as clearly ordered in his mind as on the day they were given out Mount Sinai. Rabbah, on the other hand, was Okir Harim. He was unusually sharp and analytical, was said to be an uprooter of mountains, and an expert in the most exacting analysis of the Torah. Fine. So it happened that the hour arrived that the rabbis needed one of them to assume the leadership of the Academy of Babylonia. If you really want to see the whole story of that, then you would have to go to the Gemara Horiot. So what happens is Shalchu Lahatam, the rabbi sent the following message to the rabbis here in Eretz Yisrael: Sinai ve'okir harim ezvehim kodem. In the choice between Sinai, Rav Yosef, and the one who approves mountains, Rabbah, which of them takes precedence? Who should be the new Rosh Yeshiva? That's what they're asking. Who should be the Rosh Yeshiva? The one who knows everything clearly, like on the day that they received the Sinai, or the guy who can rip up mountains? In other words, he can get the answer by analysis. Which one is the correct guy? So, interesting question, right? Who do you want to be the Rosh Yeshiva? So, the rabbi sent back this reply: Sinai kodem. Sinai takes precedence, because for all the needful of the master of wheat, which means one who has gathered many Tanaic teachings. So he knows the entire spectrum. He says, for one with an encyclopedic knowledge of the primary Tanaic sources will easily discover the solutions to most difficulties, since one Tanaic statement will often provide the means of understanding another. One relies solely upon his analytical prowess, however, will be at a disadvantage, since without the requisite fund of knowledge, you remain ignorant of the principles necessary to issue a correct ruling. This, by the way, is why Rev Herschel Schechter will say, for a rabbi today to give a ruling, he should be an expert in Shas and Poskim. He should have that encyclopedic knowledge. Wow. Otherwise, you have no right to give a halachic ruling. That's what he holds. Wow. Okay? Of course, he does have that, so he can say that. Most people do not, and it's very difficult to acquire, but that is where he's coming from. I'm guessing this is what he bases that on. Afal Pikain, even so, that they said that Sinai, Rav Yosef, should take over, what happens? Afal Pikain, lo kibel Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef did not accept the position. Okay, so here you go. Imagine, it's between you and Poloni. It's between you and your brother who's going to be the next chancellor of Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a major college. It's a lot of money, a lot of prestige. You can make fun all you want, but think about it. It's a lot of prestige. And when you're becoming prestige, it's very hard to stop you the ego. Okay? And your brother wins. Avi wins. And Avi says, no thanks. I'm going to give it to my brother Shmuel, because Shmuel is an Okir Harem. I'm just Sinai, but he's Okir Harem. I'm going to give it to him. And suddenly Shmuel says, okay. Okay. That's what basically happened here. So, the Amalek, Kildai, for the astrologers said to him, now this is an interesting reason for Rav Yosef not to take it, Malcha Tarten Shenen. Your rule as a head of the academy will be for only 2 years, and then you will die. Wow. He realized that the moment was not yet right and declined the position. We see that a person must not attempt to force the moment of his success. Malach Rabba Esrim Tartin Shnein. Rabba was appointed instead and ruled for 22 years. Malach Rav Yosef Tartain Shnan Upalga. Upon Rav's death, Rav Yosef accepted the position, ruled 2.5 years. He thus lost nothing by waiting. We see that one yields before the moment and defers his plans, the moment will yield before him. So that is a quick story. Again, there's other things that go on here, but and you could ask a lot of questions on that. Why did he listen to astrologers and so on and so forth? Is you could say a lot of things with that. Then it says, and he got, the Gemara says he didn't lose anything, so they say to the contrary. He even gained half a year over the astrologer's prediction. Ben Yodaya proposes that this may have been Rav Yosef's reward for yielding before the moment. The Chadash and Gam Yeshanim suggest that it was to point up the uncertain nature of astrological prediction, for indeed it's characteristic for the astrological art that will not allow its practitioners a clear view of the future. Accordingly, their predictions are often inaccurate. So there you go. Like our weathermen today, we don't know what's going to happen. So then, I'll give you guys the option. I can finish this. We have 3 more pages. You know what? We'll stop here. We'll do it next week. Okay.